The thing that always fascinated me about improv comedy is that it's basically a happy accident that you think you're initiating. You enter a scene and decide that your character is in a bar, but your partner thinks you're performing dental surgery. And so the combination of those two disparate ideas melds into something that could never be created on its own. Some of the most fun I've ever had in church ministry was the time we launched a brand new student ministry from scratch, and we had no idea what we were doing. You see, the previous senior pastor had a small vision, but a penchant for racking up a ton of debt for the church. And so what bugged me most was he had allowed the youth group to kind of limp along. Mediocrity was celebrated, and so as the new senior pastor, it drove me crazy with a holy discontent. I mean, Psalm 71:18 tells us to declare God's glory and power to the next generation. I was not okay being the senior pastor of a church that was really only reaching a small handful of teenagers. So I did something crazy. I hit Control-Alt-Delete, nuked everything. I took over as the youth pastor. I released most of the adult volunteers, changed the gathering time and location, brought in a new worship pastor, and had him work up a cover of Beyonce's Single Ladies. And then I wrote a message on becoming young men and women of honor. And I circled up our adult volunteers for a single training session ahead of time. And I was God honest. I just said, this whole experiment is going to be a mess. We have absolutely no idea what to expect. But if we stick together, I guarantee it will be fun. Just be open to try new ideas and say yes more than you say no. So as a group of volunteers, we hoped and prayed that 50 teenagers would show up that first night. God heard our prayer, laughed, and sent 150 teenagers in a town of 3,000 in the middle of a Michigan cornfield. And to this day, I can say that we didn't know what we were doing. We just made it up as we went along. We improvised. Our small groups were thrown together like we were building the plane as it flew through the air. And it didn't matter that it felt like mass chaos. The initial yes became a wellspring of adrenaline and forward movement. When we choose to take a risk in our businesses, in our ministries, and jump off a cliff, God will take what is natural for us and make it super. That's the essence of the supernatural. So when God puts his super on our natural, life change becomes the byproduct. You're listening to the Holy Shift podcast, where I reveal the secrets of popular comedians so that you can connect through comedy in business, life, and leadership. Hey, I'm Jonathan Herron, author of Holy Shift, pastor of Life Church, Michigan. Buckle up. It's time to make a holy shift. Episode 50 of the newly renamed Holy Shift podcast. I'm Jonathan Herron. My guest today is New York Times bestselling author and chief balloon inflator, Bob Goff. You've probably heard Bob at different conferences. He wrote Love Does, Everybody Always, Dream Big, just released a brand new edition of Everybody Always for Kids. Bob's a friend, a mentor in my life, and he's going to be sharing some of the things that he's been learning about connecting through comedy. He's announcing his retirement. I think this is breaking news here on the podcast. Bob Goff is retiring, and so you don't want to miss that. But first, let me just address the elephant in the room for a moment. This is episode 50 of what was once called the Fearless Podcast. The whole idea was jumping up on stage to lead a movement, whether you are a business leader, a church leader, a teacher. And Bob was the guy who kind of challenged me on the name of the podcast, of all things. He said, John, you could be sitting in a bigger chair connecting with more people beyond your bubble, because there's a lot of good content here. But he said fearless, that word is just too well used. And so he said, stretch that out, give it a quarter twist, as you'll hear him say in this interview, a quarter twist. And so I just kind of drilled down and said, what do we want this resource, this free podcast, to be known for? And when it comes down to it, I want to reveal the secrets of popular comedians and comedy writers, principles of improv comedy, and share with you how to connect through comedy, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a small business owner, or maybe you're like me, you're a ministry professional, because laughter is universal. There's so much good we can do in the world if we connect through comedy. The old formulas don't work anymore. I mean, we are all losing ground in this post-pandemic world. In my realm, the church world, here in North America, too many church leaders are doing ministry out of memory, trying to fit in and do things that worked 50 years ago. And listen, we need more mavericks. We need more entrepreneurs. We need to see that laughter is universal and you can connect through comedy, because first-time guests are always looking for a reason not to return. If you're in business, it is cheaper and faster for someone to shop on Amazon than to step into your brick and mortar store. If you're in church world, trust me, every first-time guest is looking for a reason not to return. And so what I've learned in 20 years of ministry, and before that as a comedian in Chicago, is that people have to feel environmentally secure before they become theologically aware. So they have to feel like they belong before they will believe in what you are pointing them towards. What I've discovered is that laughter is universal. It breaks the ice. It's a wink to your customer or your client. It's a wink to your audience that everyone in the room is on the same page. And so if you want to reach Gen Z, stop trying to enforce the rules and instead become an outpost of grace. So we've done this quarter twist, no longer using this nebulous word fearless. And instead, man, I want to teach you the secrets of comedy, make a holy shift in your life and leadership. And it's always okay to change your name in the middle of the game. I mean, Bob was sharing with me that that's what Jesus always did. He would walk up to people. He'd walk up to Simon and say, you're more of Peter, which in that day and age meant rock. He's like, hey, you're Rocky. He was giving people nicknames. He was connecting with them and had a sense of humor. And I really believe we can connect through comedy. So I hope you'll subscribe, whether you listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or Apple. Subscribe to the Holy Shift podcast, where each week I'll be teaching you secrets from popular comedians, as well as sharing with you inspiring interviews from guests like today's guest, Bob Goff. Without any further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Bob. I'll catch you on the other side.
Bob, yeah, come on, let's do it. We were talking about how you can change your name. And you were telling me about how Jesus would go around changing people's names. And so I'm renaming the podcast and, going after how do we connect through comedy. Can you just open up a little bit about how changing your name? What does that look like?
Yeah, I've always wondered how the sons of Zebedee, the sons of thunder, got their name. Maybe too many spicy falafels. But one of the things that I think we can do is to say that we are constantly changing. We're new creations. And so you can come up with a new, I wouldn't change my name to Fred from Bob, but you could change your title. I turned 62 yesterday. And so I announced to Sweet Maria Goff and everybody who will listen to me that I'm retiring. I just said, I'm out. And she's like, well, I don't get it. I'm like, I know, me neither. But what I get is this, that I'm a new creation, and I've worked super hard, as everybody who's listening to this has as well. And so I just decided I'm giving myself a new title. I'm just going to retire. Like, it's just another way of saying I'm going to do less of the things that aren't helpful to me and aren't lasting, and more of the things that are. And so retirement for me will look very similar to what I've been doing, because I just want to do the things that I want to do. Going deep with a few friends, being available, some of the things that we're doing out at this place that we're building called the Oaks. Like, so I think changing your name you could also think of it as changing your title. You could move from being the person in charge of everything, or your business or your family, to the curator of your business or your family. That would be a really important quarter twist. It looks a lot the same, but a curator at the Getty says, I'm trying to create an experience for everybody. So what I'm going to do is get this painting and this vase and this. Sometimes it's interactive. I'm going to curate an experience. And so get business cards that say curator. That would be like changing your name.
Well, happy birthday, Bob. I feel bad I missed your birthday.
I'm retired, man. I'm one day into my retirement. This is new Bob. Yeah.
I can't imagine how many.
It looks a lot like old Bob.
And there's so many listeners who are stepping out into the unknown after everything that's happened in the past year. I mean, you've opened up the Oaks. You are releasing another book right now. How would you encourage people to pursue dreams and to just get after it?
Well, first you got to figure out where you are. It's like being in a big mall and there's the X that says you are here. The first thing is take a deep dive into just a little bit of self-reflection. So where am I at in my life? And what are things that are working and what are things that are not working? If you're feeling a restlessness, where's that coming from? And so just trace down some return addresses for, like, why is it that I'm feeling the way I'm feeling? It might be that you're just working too hard. Maybe you feel like a marionette and everybody has a string except you. So I would just to say, okay, I'm going to collect my strings back. And if faith is important to you, using this metaphor, you could say, okay, I'm going to give the puppeteer, I'm going to give to Jesus all of these strings that in truth, a lot of other people have right now. I have a string with this boss that's difficult, or a relationship that's hard, that's always pulling on that string. And I have this distraction. You can't give the string of your kids away. You say, hey, somebody else raise them. That's military school. What I would do is I would say, what I'm going to do is I'm exercising too much control over this. What I'm going to do is, while I'm going to give some beautiful guardrails for them to thrive within, I'm going to really start giving these strings to Jesus. I'm going to say, in terms of where they go and how they decide to live out the life, the direction they're going, I'm not going to try to control that. What I'll definitely do is try to encourage it. I'll try to make some things available, some opportunities, but I'm not going to try to control things anymore. That would be a big string. And so if you've lost your way and you're listening and you feel like you don't know where you're at in the mall, like, welcome to Earth. That's where most people are. That's why they sell Dippin' Dots at the mall, for people who forgot why they came to the mall. Because nobody goes to the mall to eat Dippin' Dots, and they cost more than drugs. So what I would do is I would say, slow it down, say, what are the lasting, beautiful purposes that I have? Collect your strings back, give them to the puppeteer, and then maybe just kind of chunk it up a little bit. Say, what I'm going to just look at is what I do for a day job. And you might say, like, what I do in this day job, it started a day job, but now I'm thinking about a day and night. And so it's no longer a day job, it's a day and night job. And maybe you need to retire from that. Maybe you need to say, I'm going to give this a strong 8 or 9 hours a day, and then I'm not going to fill the rest of my time thinking about it. I'm going to go learn how to paint. I'm going to get a skateboard. I'm going to get a hula hoop. I don't know what it is for you. Read a book. But to say, I'm peacing out after 8 or 9 hours. Can you relate to that? Or the job's never done?
Absolutely. No.
Yeah.
And so you announced your retirement, that you're peacing out. Like, what are you retiring from? Does this mean no more?
Oh, well, one of the things I decided to do is stop saying no to people. So I don't like saying no. And so, but I can't say yes to everything. So I actually have a friend, Jordan, who says no to things for me. so
I want a Jordan.
It's such a buzzkill for me. Yeah. So just Jordan helps out by saying no. So if there's something I need to say no to, then Jordan jumps in. And Jordan's awesome. And so find a Jordan that will say no to some things that you've been saying yes to, not because you want to or it feels a sense of calling to or it's even purposeful. In fact, it's become a big distraction for you. But it's such a distraction for me to say no because I want to say yes to everything. But by having somebody that can jump in and help you out, you might have people that are saying yes for you, yes to you for everything. And you need to tell them, stop. Don't sign me up for the PTA and the this and the that. And it's just not helping. The pattern is too full. We have a thing, it's called zero budgeting that we started doing. I'm sure it wasn't my idea, 30 years ago. And so on January 1st of each year, we cancel every subscription. We get new credit card numbers. We get like anything that we happen to have signed up for during the year is now it just gets your credit card doesn't work on that anymore. So we just like zero it out and we just say, I don't want to continue to do something just because I've been doing it. I really want to take a fresh look at that and to say, instead of is it making my life better right now, the Lakota Indians had a beautiful tradition. I don't know if you've heard of this, but they look 7 generations down the road and they say, will this help my people 7 generations from now? Will this actually be that kind of last thing 7 generations from now? And it's actually, if you have to take out the garbage on Monday, there's some things you just got to do, but you don't have to do as many things as you are doing. And so some of the things, if you put the 7 generation kind of overview on it, you might change a couple things up. You might change your job description. You might change your name.
More of my conversation with Bob Goff in just a moment. Comedy clubs are thriving. Internet sites like funnyordie.com are booming while church pews are sadly empty. Although young adults are more spiritually attuned than past generations, millennials and Gen Zers will rarely darken a church door. Listen, it doesn't have to be this way. Today's church leaders need a holy shift. My new book, Holy Shift, Laugh Your Mass Off and Reach More People Far from God, is a bestseller on Amazon, also available on churchleaders.com. In this paperback, I reveal the secrets of popular comedians, some inside stories from my days at Second City, studying under a then unknown Tina Fey, partying with Chris Farley a couple nights before he died. And most importantly, this book, Holy Shift, provides a fresh approach to leadership, whether you're a teacher, a small business leader, or a ministry professional. It's going to help you unleash contagious enthusiasm on your team, equip leaders to leverage laughter and passion, and create sustainable momentum in reaching more people. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Amazon, head over to churchleaders.com, or hey, head over to my site, jonathanherron.com. Get a copy, get 10 copies for your team of Holy Shift, Laugh Your Mass Off. Discover the secrets of improv comedy that will help you connect through comedy. And now, more with my conversation with New York Times bestselling author Bob Goff.
And I know that, jumping into the yes is in your DNA. You just jumped into the yes with your daughter, you guys co-wrote a book, Everybody Always for Kids. Tell me about that.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
So fun. Well, that would be one of the things 7 generations from now. I want to leave behind a little evidence I was here.
Wow.
Everything other than a couple Pendleton shirts, I think all the rest of it's going to be gone. What I want to do is leave some stories behind. I want my ancestors to know who I was and what I thought. And I really want to do something for kids right now. There's a lot of books out there for adults, but not as many for kids that aren't like, the Hungry Caterpillar, but to have a little bit of meat to them, but for kind of 6 to 10-year-olds, give them something to read with their parents. And I think that people would read more together if you had good resource to read, like it wasn't a hokey book. So hopefully we didn't write a hokey book. We wrote a good book and put some great pictures in there. We had artists that painted some paintings to go along with it, just to make it more visually interesting. If you're 6, that's what you want to see. But I really want parents and kids to spend time together. So that's what Lindsay and I had in mind. And it's so fun to do that with my daughter. She's an elementary school educator, and so it's so fun to do a project like this. We did Love Does for Kids after the Love Does book, and so we did this one for after the Everybody Always book. And we're working on the next one, which is Dream Big for Kids. And so this would be an example, whatever it is, if you want to make those exploding volcanoes that are junior high school projects, like go for it. Go or have a food fight or do something with the people that you love that is worth making a little room. And if you need to retire from a couple things to do that, change your name, retire. Just say, I'm out. Old Bob's on the bus. This is new Bob.
That's wild. You know what? This is going to sound crazy, but on my time hop, you know how you get these pictures and memories from on this date a year ago?
Oh, yeah.
1 year ago,
cool.
1 year ago today, I was with you in San Diego at the Love Does offices for Dream Big. It was 1 year ago right now.
Oh, how cool is that?
Isn't that crazy?
I love that. Well, yeah, you'd hate the weather here today. I think it's 77. That's just mean to say.
I'm in Michigan. It's cold here.
A little chilly. But one of the things that I hope that people will do is just not only hop backwards, but hop forwards. So I'm spending a little bit of time saying, well, what's the direction that I want to go in? And so we are today putting in all the irrigation for this vineyard that's going in. And for a guy that doesn't drink wine, I think I've had 2 glasses in 62 years. This vineyard produces 60,000 bottles of wine every year. Isn't that crazy? So, wow. But the reason I'm doing it is I'm just curious. And I think if we had more people that were just curious about what was going on in their life and around them, they would live more engaged lives. And so for me, I don't know if it's for the next guy, but for me, I thought this will be really interesting. So I've learned everything there is to know so far about vineyards. Did you know the rows in vineyards, they have to go in a certain direction, like a certain compass point, so that the grapes on both sides get an equal amount of sun? Is that crazy? Yeah, 10 degrees off of due north, like where we are. So I used to just drive by vineyards and thought they were pretty and green, but there's actually a reason for that. Otherwise, the grapes on one side will develop differently than the grapes on the other side. Crazy. So this would be the kind of curiosity I hope we would have about our faith, about our family, about our friends. Philippians 2:20, like Paul saying Timothy took a genuine interest in people. So take a genuine interest in people, in vineyards, in the things happening around us. Don't get distracted by all the noise that's on the news. Be self-aware. Grow where you need to. But I hope our heads are on a swivel this year.
Yeah. Wow. That is fantastic. And we can come see you at the Oaks, right?
Yeah, anytime. I'll be the guy pulling weeds in the vineyard. I'm that guy. We have a couple of Highland cattle there. They look like Ewoks. They're Scottish Highlands. We've named one of them William Wallace. We're going to paint half his face blue. Yeah. And the other one we haven't quite come up with a name for. But these Highland cattle wander around in the pasture, and then we've got about 10 or 12 other ones. And so I get them, the horse, and I herd them around. I just chase them around the field. And they're like, no, not him again. But that kind of just being playful, that's just like such a great thing a couple times a week. I just get out and herd the cattle from one side of this couple 100-acre place to the other side and back again. And I just don't want people to forget the value of just play, because God did not create you just to work. That he delights, like I do, like you do, in seeing his kids play.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Bob, you are a gift. If
hey,
you were
great
here,
talking to you. Happy to jump on your podcast for a couple minutes. Yeah, thank you. Get over here. You need to do the actual hop to SoCal.
That's right.
We'll be waiting for you. I'll be out in the field weeding or something.
There you have it, my buddy Bob. You got to follow him online, bobgoff.com. His books are bestsellers, so hit up your local bookstore, Barnes & Nobles, get his new book that's for kids, about everybody always. You can also find Bob on Instagram, Twitter, at bobgoff. And you can find me right here on the Holy Shift podcast every week, providing you with the secrets of popular comedians and comedy writers that will help you connect through comedy. Make sure you don't miss a single episode by subscribing, whether it's Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or even YouTube. Subscribe to Holy Shift. And listen, if you could leave a 5-star review, that would just mean the world to me, because it tells the robots and the algorithm interweb people that people like this, that they're finding this to be valuable stuff, and it pushes the Holy Shift podcast up in front of more eyeballs. So do me a favor, leave a 5-star review, subscribe, maybe even text a couple buddies and tell them about this. Because the whole idea is you can connect through comedy in this new reality, in this new economy. And I just want to help you lead like never before. If you win, I win, we all win. And hey, for what it's worth, there's a ton of free resources and articles over on my website, jonathanherron.com. I'd love to connect with you over there. Let me know. Let me know what you took away from today's episode or what you want to hear more about. There's so much to explore when it comes to thinking like a comedian or approaching the boardroom like a comedy writer. It unlocks new ways of seeing things, and you can connect through comedy. So that's the scoop. We're now the Holy Shift podcast, and we are retiring the fearless name. You know, it says in Isaiah 62, verse 2, you will be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord will designate. So it's never too late to make that quarter twist. It's never too late to become who you might have been. I'll see you again next week. Jonathan Herron signing off from episode 50 of the Holy Shift podcast. Enjoy your burrito.